there's the different tiers are a board game, a book, and then the glass unicorn, a replica of the glass unicorn that they used to kill Margot Kidder. That one. I was like, I have to get that. And I was like, oh my god, I forgot about it because it was August 13th when it came out.
Yeah.
So I went to look at it today. $258 if you want to get the glass unicorn. And I'm like, nope, I can't afford that.
That sucks.
After I got the Nancy Drew Kickstarter, I was like, no, I can't do that anymore. It's too much. So Lionsgate.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Do you know what happened with Lionsgate?
You said that they put fake quotes by real people or fake people.
They put real critics' fake quotes.
Is that a? I haven't seen the movie or don't know anything about it.
Nobody's seen it yet. It doesn't come out till the 29th.
Is it?
I mean, people saw it at Cannes. But.
Is it like a tie-in? Maybe there's something in the movie about it.
No, I don't think so. Because they got a lot of pushback and they pulled it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they pulled the trailer. So
maybe it was placeholders or something.
No, it was intentional. I'll explain.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
Welcome to the I Hate Critics movie review podcast. I'm professional film critic Sean Patrick. With me is Jeff.
I'm just Jeff.
You're an artist, though.
I am. And I'll be at a local Quad City convention this weekend.
Yeah.
The Quad City Toy Show on Saturday at 10 a.m. at the Rock Island County Fairgrounds in East Moline, Illinois. So you should come and see me. Buy some artwork.
Very cool.
Would appreciate it.
And, so this is the only podcast where a professional film critic and an artist debate movies.
Yeah, as far as we know.
As far as we know.
I mean, everybody has a podcast. So.
If you know of another one, we'd like to partner with them and be friends.
No, we want to be better enemies. Somebody I tangentially know who is involved in like exonerations and getting innocent people freed from prison and all that, today got in a beef with somebody on another podcast that is basically just lies and bullshit. So, yeah, it was pretty interesting. I'm like, this is why I don't talk to other podcasters.
You can find us on Facebook. We haven't been updating Facebook a lot because Facebook is, a dumpster fire. But we'll do what we can.
I've tried to put some stuff up and it just gets lost completely.
Yeah.
But I hear everything the Last Picture House is doing.
Which is
if
great.
Somebody
Don't get me
farts
wrong.
in the theater.
Don't get what's wonderful.
They send
Love it.
They send out a tweet about it or something.
To tell you just how much of a dumpster fire Facebook is, Amy has finally started using it. So you can just know if Amy's catching up, then it's time to you got to find someplace else to be.
Well, I mean, you can't just put your memes about soap and shit on Instagram. I'm on Threads, and that's where I spend most of my time. So
Wow.
Because Twitter is even worse than Facebook.
Yeah, well, it is owned by a monster.
This is true.
But they all are, so.
I
mean, your monster over there on Threads is not maybe just as bad.
Yeah. Today I posted something that was apparently a banger on Threads because 150 people saw it.
Wow.
Or liked it, so. Which is a lot for there because nobody uses it yet.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried to use Threads. It hasn't gone well. I don't understand it.
Well, for me it works because a lot of the people that I followed on Twitter kind of made the jump, like regular normie people, not just the the pundits and whatever. But I miss old Twitter because it was you found your people and you could set up like group DMs with them and so
there were a lot of used to be a lot of good people.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's a lot of good bots.
Oh, it's so fun. I only go on Twitter now. I have a burner account that I only go on there to rip people. And today I called somebody a word and they blocked me. and then they came at me with 3 different bot accounts that I knew were them. That because they all said exactly the same thing, exactly like word for word, punctuation incorrect in the same places, everything. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a dumpster fire.
It truly is, like, unquestionably. But I can't quit it yet. I find I get some of the best engagement on my work is there for some reason.
I'm hoping that the apartheid scion, I'm hoping that he just finally loses it and sells it.
Yeah, that's he's driven so much of the revenue away.
Yeah.
That maybe he'll have to give it up or something. Who
Yeah.
knows?
That's the only reason I signed out of my regular account. And I have not signed back in a few months just because I don't want to lose the name. So
Makes sense. Let's talk about some controversy. So you've heard a little bit about this, but you don't know quite what's going on with Lionsgate.
yeah.
This is a couple weeks ago, I guess. I only caught up to it recently and was kind of struck by it. It's kind of the thing that we usually talk about in this show is the way that studios and critics work together, or in this case, don't work together. Lionsgate put out a trailer for Megalopolis, Francis Ford Coppola's new movie, which is going to be in theaters allegedly, nationwide allegedly, on September 29th. They put out a new trailer that featured a bunch of quotes from legendary film critics. And the idea here was that these were legendary film critics who had spoken about Coppola in the past, his past films, Godfather, Apocalypse Now, and whatnot. Interestingly, these quotes that they decided to use weren't real. We don't know why they chose to do this, but they quoted Roger Ebert, Pauline Kael, Oben Gleiberman, among others, as talking about Francis Ford Coppola. And weirdly, they had a quote from Roger Ebert allegedly talking about Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula. But it was a quote that Ebert had written for his review of Batman.
Well, bats and Dracula, they get mixed up. It was an honest mistake.
Not a mistake that sounds like AI to me, Jeff.
Yeah.
So I decided to do a little digging on this. Not that I'm the best journalist in the world, but I do this stuff a little bit.
You're the best journalist in this room.
There's that. I wanted to see what would happen. Could I recreate this using ChatGPT? I wanted to see what it is that maybe Lionsgate did that ended up getting them to this situation. So I asked AI, I asked ChatGPT to give me a Roger Ebert style quote about Bram Stoker's Dracula. And this is what they gave me. This is ChatGPT trying to be Roger Ebert. Bram Stoker's Dracula is a fever dream of gothic romance and blood-soaked horror where every frame pulses with the intensity of a nightmare and the tragic beauty of a doomed love affair. It's a film that dares to be both grandiose and intimate, with a visual style so lush and decadent that it overwhelms the senses, much like the Vampire Count himself. That is not Roger Ebert that wrote that.
Okay.
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, okay.
Which sounds almost exactly like the quote that Lionsgate put in his, except that they used his Batman quote.
Oh, Lord.
I think they tried to ChatGPT this shit and ended up putting that shit in the trailer, thinking that no one would care or notice, because some of it is so close to being real. The idea here is that they wanted to collect a bunch of film critics' quotes that talked about the ambition of Francis Ford Coppola being beyond his grasp, because that's kind of what people have said about Megalopolis leading up to the release, is that this is grand and ambitious and unique and different and weird, but also a failure. A lot of people have called this a failure. It hasn't come out yet, but a failure of ideas, I guess. But
Fair enough.
They used Pauline Kael. They used Owen Gleiberman, who is still writing today. He still writes. He writes for Variety now. I believe he might be their senior editor. I'm not sure, but he still is working. And they used a quote from him talking about Dracula, in which he called it, kind of like he called it a mess, essentially. And the quote they ended up using was one that Gleiberman himself said, "I wish I'd said that. I never said that about this movie."
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Why? You just all you have to do, there's a website called RogerEbert.com. You can go there. You can find his review of Apocalypse Now. You can find his review of fucking Dracula, which I just read it yesterday. You can find his review of Godfather. You can find Pauline Kael's review of Godfather, which is a film she liked, even though Lionsgate says she doesn't like it, apparently, based on the quote that they used. Just go there, read the reviews, take actual quotes, and put them in your trailer.
Or just ask Owen Gleiberman.
Just ask him. He's right there. Ask him for a quote.
Ask us. I'll give him a quote. Stop using fucking ChatGPT to write your shit, marketing team.
Totally bizarre choices made.
As somebody who was in marketing for a while, all I can say is it is empty and soulless and probably just all of it is just AI.
Yeah.
And it's probably a lot like Megalopolis.
I'm kind of looking forward to Megalopolis. I want to see... Because I was told for a very long time that the movie One from the Heart was a complete disaster. It's this big, giant Francis Ford Coppola flop, and it didn't do well at the box office. It didn't get great reviews. I watched it, and I was blown away by it. I think that movie is an all-time classic.
That happens all the time, though. It's like one critic doesn't like it. And that's why one of the reasons that our show is called I Hate Critics. Because if one critic hates a movie, it can tank a whole... it can tank something, and it takes years for people to catch up with it. Heaven's Gate? Is that what it... No. Not Heaven... I always call it Heaven Can Wait, but it's not Heaven Can Wait. It's... for God.
The Michael Cimino movie.
Yes.
Heaven's Gate.
Heaven's Gate. Okay, it was. I was right. Okay. That wasn't a bad movie.
No,
it flopped, of course.
But there are multiple versions of that as well. That one of which is Caligula. Excellent.
A terrible movie when I saw it. Not the porn I was promised, but the porn I didn't want.
Yeah.
And it's like a critic is not always right. A critic can, but if you're Roger Ebert, if you're Pauline Kael, if you're Owen Gleiberman, you can tank a movie just by you're not connecting with you, but that doesn't mean it doesn't connect with other people. So, like Friday the 13th, which we will have next Friday. We'll have the Friday the 13th Part 3 on our Patreon.
Cool.
As soon as we record it, probably this weekend.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that stuff like it. Art is subjective. And they could have just gotten real live critics who are alive today to say something about it. They could talk about...
Certainly there are many of them.
They can talk about Francis Ford Coppola's legacy and how this doesn't live up to it if that's the way they want to market this movie.
I mean, there are literal quotes that match exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah.
I've got newspapers.com. It's my favorite website in the world. I love researching movies from the past via newspapers.com. It's just exciting. You can find weird shit there. But things that have been lost to time, anecdotes you can't get anymore. You can go there, read just the headline from one of these movies, and find a quote that's going to match, his ambition exceeds his grasp.
Yeah.
There are many quotes about that, about Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah.
Why do you... Don't leave the intern there to just make your trailer for you.
Look, if their marketing team is anything like the marketing quote unquote team that was at my last marketing job, it is completely just run by idiots and AI. I mean,
yeah.
I lost my job and they let the receptionist do the marketing.
If there's any job that has no respect whatsoever, it's marketing.
Yeah.
But oftentimes that's also because many marketers just don't have any soul to what they do.
This is true.
Speaking of which, The Crow got made.
Yeah, didn't see it. Not going to. No reason to.
I saw it.
I'm sorry.
This movie broke my brain, Jeff. It hurt me.
You are one of so many people that I heard that from, and I have in the horror community. I know quite a few Crow super fans.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody at the convention I did last weekend about it, and I said we were talking about movies, and I said, "Oh, you know what movies have you seen lately?" He goes, "Well, I saw The Crow, and ordinarily when I come to a convention, I cosplay as The Crow, and I don't want to cosplay as The Crow anymore."
Jesus.
I was like, "Well, okay then, that bad, huh?" And he goes, "Yep."
The movie makes no sense. I promise you that it makes it makes no sense, this movie. Because, like, maybe I'm told that some of the stuff that's in this is kind of explained by other media, alternative media, comic book, lore, whatever. I maintain that I shouldn't have to do that much homework to watch and judge your movie and especially understand your movie. I shouldn't have to show up, with Sparks Notes on, going, okay, this is from that. No,
art like that, like a movie, should be self-contained. If you want to have supplemental stuff to it that adds to it, fine. That's some of my problems with some of the Star Wars stuff that's come out lately, is that I shouldn't have to do that. I shouldn't have to do the homework. I do read a lot of Star Wars stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
But you're the second person in today who has told me exactly that they had to look it up to find out what the fuck was going on. And
that's the thing. Like, yeah, I do a lot of research for what I do. I research directors, I research screenwriters, actors to learn about their style and how they approach things. I don't read comic books. I'm not a comic book guy. I have nothing against comic books. It's never been my medium. So I was watching this completely lost at times, and some of it is just like, there's a white horse in it, which people...
Oh, God, did Rob Zombie do this movie? Was Sherry Moon Zombie riding the white horse?
People love the white horse imagery. It's all about the innocence of the white horse and whatnot.
Yeah.
Tainted by the red of blood. The horse gets... So as a kid, like Eric Draven's horse gets wrapped up in barbed wire and dies. All while his mom is maybe in their trailer home, which is on a farm. They live in a trailer, and she's a drunk and a drug addict, but they have a horse? Question mark? I don't know a lot of poor people with drug and alcohol problems living in a trailer on a farm that has a horse. Is this ChatGPT?
Maybe.
I'm just saying.
Wouldn't you sell the horse? I mean, I don't know.
He tries to get the horse loose and cuts his hands. So he's got cuts. He's got the stigmata on his hands. So he's a Jesus figure.
Jesus fucking Christ.
This will never come up again. You'll see the scar on his hands, and you see an image of the horse briefly in a flashback, maybe, where also the trailer home is on fire, and his mom is maybe inside.
Yeah, okay.
He doesn't become the Crow until 40 minutes into the movie. You're like at least 40, 45 minutes into the movie before he becomes the Crow.
It's like Jason on Jason Takes Manhattan, where he doesn't get to Manhattan for an hour.
Yeah.
Of an hour and a half movie.
We start with Shelley. She's the FKA Twigs. She gets a call from a friend who says that there's a video, and that this video, important people want this video, and that their friend Dom created it, and that they need to get out of town to be safe. Then we see bad guys show up at the friend's house to get her, and she hangs up the phone. So Shelley, she leaves her apartment to go check on her friend to see if she's okay. She doesn't know that the bad guys are there, but then she sees that she's being followed by somebody. So she fumbles her purse and out rolls a bunch of drugs in front of a couple of cops, who then arrest her. Right? They arrest her.
Okay.
Bad guys have the friend. Shelley's under arrest. No time passes. Shelley is somehow arrested, tried, sentenced, and arrives at a drug treatment / co-ed prison? Question mark? in the forest. Meanwhile, we cut to Danny.
Is it one of those camps where like people from Dr. Phil send their kids and years later
if it's got razor wire and and leg monitoring, yes, then that makes sense. Again, no time has passed. We have no idea whether or not time has passed, but that all happens in a single moment. Her friend is taken to Danny Houston, who is, we're told, 110 years old. He has made a deal with the devil. If he delivers innocent souls to the devil, he can live forever. He goes to confront the friend because he's the bad guy who wants the video that Dom took. Remember Dom? We've not met Dom, but Dom did the video.
Oh, okay.
He wants
Dom
the video.
DeLuise?
He also wants to know where Shelley is.
Wouldn't it be funny if it was Dom DeLuise? Hi!
If only. He wants to know where Shelley is. But of course, this girl has no idea where Shelley is. Shelley never made it to her. Shelley never went to see her. Shelley is already off into her forest treatment prison somehow. So she has no idea how to find it. So Danny Houston makes her kill herself and then asks to go, and then sets about to try and find Shelley. This happens in a day. In a day. This is, and apparently, because again, there is no editing to tell us that time has passed in any way. So this all seems like it's happened in the same day, where Eric then sees Shelley and immediately falls in love with her. And then she kind of falls in love with him eventually, but then...
So it's like The Empire Strikes Back.
But then her mom shows up at the prison with the bad guy's assistant. This may be a day or two later, who knows? Again, we don't know how time is passing. So Eric helps Shelley escape. They run back to the city. They get drunk and use a bunch of drugs, and they hang out and have sex. And then eventually, after they go to Eric's warehouse apartment, they make some music, and then they get killed. They're dead. Both of them are dead. Shelley's...
And the end, right?
No. Shelley's going to hell, but she wasn't killed by Danny Houston, so how does he already owns her soul, I guess that's the reason. He bought her soul from her mom, who was just introduced moments ago, and then we find out later that she sold Shelley to Danny Houston years ago. Are you following so far? This is all.
This actually sounds like it makes more sense than the movie.
I'm not kidding you. This is how the movie proceeds. I am giving you the full fucking experience of this goddamn fucking movie.
So then he comes back from the dead and avenges her.
No.
No. Oh. Okay.
He goes to
that was what The Crow was.
Not hell. She goes to hell. Maybe. He goes to the in-between world where he meets his guru, who tells him that a crow can carry a soul back to the world of the living, but then he doesn't tell him that he has any kind of powers. He just he tells him, go back and kill the people who killed Shelley. And he's like, and he goes back, he's like, I don't know what the fuck to do. Who are these people? And why would they want to kill Shelley? What did she do?
Yeah.
He has no idea. He doesn't know. Shelley didn't tell him about the video. She didn't tell him about Danny Houston. She didn't tell him anything. So he goes back with the notion that certainly someone killed him, and he kind of knows who they might be. He gets lucky because the cop, this corrupt cop, is there who may have been part of killing him or tries to kill him, so he stops that guy from killing him, but the cop shoots him, and then he goes back to the in-between world where the guy says, what are you doing here? I sent you back with the powers of a god to take revenge for Shelley, and you didn't do it.
Oh, but you didn't tell me.
Well, yeah, I didn't.
Oh my god.
Sends him back again. He still doesn't know what to do. He still has no idea what to do.
I would have just sent him on and let him die and been like, okay, yeah, whatever.
But this time the guru tells him that if your love for Shelley does not remain pure, you will not live forever. He has to remain pure. He can't doubt his love for her. But finally somebody tells him to go look at the video. By the way, there is a crow flying around, but the crow never interacts with him. He never interacts with the crow. The crow doesn't lead him anywhere.
How does it end? Because I don't want to hear any more about this fucking movie. We've got much better movies to talk about.
You're going to love this. How does it end?
And please tell me it ends.
How does it? He Danny Houston's supposed to be at the opera, but he's not. He's dressed up in a full suit. He may or may not be seducing the opera singer who is also a piano player, but also his driver. Who also has
male or female?
Female,
Okay.
but she also has no other role to play in the narrative, none whatsoever. Anyway, he's supposed to be there. He's like he makes a phone call, seemingly from the opera, to talk to his assistant who is arriving at the opera. But then she's there. Eric comes in, kills everybody, kills minion after minion after minion, all while an opera is happening and people are in there listening to the opera. He's having this massive Matrix level fucking fight that nobody else hears. Battles his way up to the assistant character, a woman, finds her and says, "Where is he?" And she goes, "His country house." When did he go to his country house? When did this happen?
Oh my God.
He goes to Danny Houston's country house, finds him. Danny Houston is sitting in his bedroom, brushing his hair in full PJs, just brushing his hair. They fight through a mirror that takes them through to the middle world, where Eric's guru guy is. And Eric kills him there, and he goes to hell. He'd made a deal with the guru earlier after he doubted his love for Shelley, that if he did that, Shelley could come back to life. So he goes to hell in Shelley's place. The crow will go to hell in Shelley's place, and she'll go back to being alive. Except that doesn't happen. Shelley does come back to life. Eric stays in the middle world. But when Shelley goes back to life, she awakens on the day they died, the day they were murdered. And the guy who saves her is Eric's in-between world guru guy, who is now an EMS, saves her. Eric dies. Movie over. It was all a dream. It was all a Jacob's Ladder scenario in which Shelley envisioned all of this, except maybe not, because Eric then in the final moments has a crow on his shoulder and walks off into the sunset as if he's setting up a next adventure.
Now the crow wants to hang out with him.
I kid you not.
Oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't see that fucking movie. God, that sounds excruciating.
That is the exact experience of this movie.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I
I was confused. I was giggling a little bit, trying not to, because there were people who were actually watching it. There are 23% of film critics on Rotten Tomatoes that like this movie. And for the life of me, I have no idea what movie they watched.
Well, if reading Twitter is any indication, they're just shills.
That would make sense.
Because if you like it, you're a shill. But no, it sounds horrible. It sounds excruciating. I'm glad I didn't see it. And it's not even one of those things where somebody describes a bad movie to me and I want to see it because I want to see if it's that bad. Like, we've talked about movies before that I'm like, oh, I didn't get to see it. But then I've gone back and watched it on streaming because I'm like, is it that bad? And it's usually, I mean, it's, but this just sounds horrifying.
It's nonsense. It's nonsense. I don't understand. I don't understand how anybody could watch that. Like, the critics that I like who watched it, who also said that, yeah, we didn't like it either, they seem to have at least read the comics and have, I guess, a basis of some sort to follow some of the nonsense imagery in this movie. But
yeah, somebody who said it was worse than the Edward Furlong one, which was, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, I don't know.
The original is so simple. It's just so simple. A love so powerful brings a man back to life a year later to draw revenge on the people who killed him and the woman he loves. A crow leads him to where he needs to be to make it logical, to give it a logical sensibility as to why he's able to get to where he's able to get.
Okay.
It's so simple.
Yeah. And this is,
how do you screw that up? I don't know, but they did. It's terrible. It's an unwatchable fucking mess.
No. Okay. Let's talk about good movies now.
Let's talk about Blink Twice.
Yes, let's talk about Blink Twice.
This is Zoe Kravitz directing Channing Tatum, among others, in the story of a billionaire who takes a group of people to his private island, including a pair of women who are waitresses.
Cater waiters, yeah.
Cater waiters. They get picked up by the billionaire and taken to the island, and they have some drugs and some drinks, and they think they're having a good time, but nobody knows what time it is. Nobody knows what day of the week. It's like watching The Crow. They have no idea what's going on, but they're having a great time because they're on drugs and alcohol. I wasn't. That was my mistake. I wasn't high. I should have been high for The Crow. I might have enjoyed it. No, they're just, it's like Las Vegas casinos with no clocks. Like you don't know, you don't know where you are, what time it is, and what's happening in the rest of the world. And they also take away your phone when you get there, so you can't like figure out what's going on. Time passes, things are happening, a person disappears, and a lot of things are revealed. Obviously, this is all very shady.
Lots and lots of gaslighting is going on.
And I really liked this movie a lot.
I did too.
Zoe Kravitz has got a real style to her. She's got a sense of purpose. She cares about all the details, from the costumes to the lighting to her choice of suspense scenes and when to reveal things. She's got a really great eye. She's also got a really great sensibility in how to build her story via the characters that she has in place. And it's really impressive for a first-time director to have so much control over what they do. I was really, really impressed. I was on the edge of my seat a couple times. I gasped a couple times. I liked the big reveal at the end. I thought was good. I thought the ending was a bit abrupt. I thought it turned a little too quickly, and I would have liked a little bit more seeding to get to where they get to. But I do appreciate stopping while you're ahead, not over-egging the pudding in terms of the length of the movie.
One of the things that I really liked about it, the more I thought about it, was she does this thing where she puts you in the situation where time doesn't mean anything. Because I did check my watch a couple times because I'm like, this seems like it's going by so quickly, and we're getting, the ending where if it's what I think and where I think it is, we're awfully close to that. And she does that with and then I realized it had been a while, but I was so invested in it. She does this thing where she has little montages of, everybody running around in their white outfits and just being, as hedonistic as possible, and interspersing that with daytime scenes, but you just don't know you don't know how long that's been going on the island. And you realize that, we're coming up towards the denouement of the movie, but it's, I've been watching this movie for an hour and a half, and it feels like an hour,
Right.
It goes by so quickly and so done so well that you don't realize that you've watched most of the movie already.
Right. It's incredibly clever, and I don't want to spoil anything about this one. I would say the one performance that surprised me is just Channing Tatum is so absent, but in just the right way.
Yeah.
He doesn't assert his star power. He doesn't assert his sense of humor. He just lays back because that's the character is supposed to be an enigma, and it's smartly deployed. It's great. It's great casting because he's a big star who you're going to sit there going, "Where is he? What's he doing?" And he's also the mystery man, so looking for him throughout, trying to see what he's up to see if he'll tip his hand, is part of the charm. It's part of the excitement. It's part of the fun. And so I thought that was really smart to not have him be super charismatic or even really super present most of the time.
Also, Alia Shawkat and Naomi Ackie.
Yeah.
It's like they've been... You can tell that they got along really well. They had the best chemistry of anybody in the movie. And I really liked what Naomi Ackie did as Whitney Houston. I did not see her as Whitney Houston at first. Because Whitney has very, soft pointed features. And Naomi Ackie does not resemble Whitney Houston. And I watched I Want to Dance with Somebody and was just blown away by her performance. I really liked her in the Star Wars movie that she was in. I did not know anything about this movie going into it. Not one thing. All I knew was Channing Tatum was in it because he was on the poster.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I knew. I didn't even know Zoe Kravitz directed it until after I saw it. The cast was pitch perfect. Haley Joel Osment was in it, just as this idiot. The girls, I don't know the actors
Right.
from anything that I'm aware of, and they were just so perfect. Like, the hangers-on that you see with these billionaire tech guys who don't even know what's going on. They're just, they're just there for the party,
Right.
just there for the ride, and watching them make the turn later in the movie
Yeah.
was great. I mean, it was just, they were just like waking up to the world for the first time and how the world treats people. And to watch them do that, I was just like, I wanted to jump out of my seat and go, yeah, I just really, I loved this movie, and I'm so happy that I didn't know anything about it going into it.
Yeah, I love seeing Christian Slater. Gina Davis has a weird role in this that I think is, again, I think Zoe Kravitz cast this so perfectly because Gina Davis is way too big for the role that she's playing, but that's the point. Again, she's distracting you away from Channing Tatum. A lot of this stuff is there to distract you away from what's actually happening and to disorient you. And she uses casting with Haley Joel Osment, Christian Slater, and Gina Davis to kind of, it's like you're looking at the hand over here. You're supposed to be looking at the hand over here.
Yeah, it's a magic trick as opposed to misdirection.
Yeah,
the misdirection is done in a way that doesn't cheat, like some of these movies do that have a quote unquote twist.
Yeah.
This is what I wanted Trap to be.
Yeah.
A little bit of this and a little bit of that, but this was just excellent. It's like I've seen so many good movies this week that
I was delighted at the end too because until I got to my car, it didn't occur to me that there's a literal snake in the grass in this movie.
Yes. Yeah.
And I that tickled me when I got to the car and I thought of that. I'm like, oh, that's good.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, definitely go see it. Go see it blind if you haven't heard anything about it yet. Just a really good movie.
All right, another movie that I really loved was Strange Darling, directed by J.T. Molnar and written by J.T. Molnar, starring Willa Fitzgerald and Kyle Gallner, in the story of a serial killer who is active in the Northwest and the final set of victims that this killer allegedly claimed. This is allegedly sort of based on a true story. And it's told in 6 chapters that are told out of order, not unlike, say, Pulp Fiction. Mm-hmm. And it's told so perfectly that, the big moments of it really, really hit in the best possible ways. The movie opens on Willa Fitzgerald on the run. She's running through a field trying to get away from... She's bleeding. She looks like she's in a lot of trouble. And then it unfolds to tell us how she ended up where she ends up. And along the way, you're going to see Ed Begley Jr. and Barbara Hershey, and of course, you'll find out the nature of these characters and their relationships. And it's incredibly smart, incredibly well put together, just terrifically well cast, and the shooting is exceptional. The cinematography is gorgeous. The lighting choices, the use of a hotel sign shining into a big truck is really great. The hotel room, the hotel room imageries that they use, really fucking smart movie. I really like this one.
This is one that is so hard to talk about without spoiling anything. But this is in my top 5 so far. For
really?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that.
It is so... my top 5 this year is, I'm going to tell you right now, is probably going to be all horror movies, because we are eating it for horror movies this year. And this one is kind of a horror movie, kind of a thriller. There's, but this is one of those movies that comes along once in a lifetime. And if you go in knowing anything about it, other than there's a serial killer is hunting people, that's all you need to know.
Yep.
This works better. Somebody said, I wish it had been told in chronological order. And I said, no, you're absolutely fucking wrong. It's told perfectly in just the right order. You get to know these people in a way that I don't remember getting to know anybody in the course of one film the way you get to know these characters.
Yeah.
And they're some of it is super shocking. There are some moments where I went, it's just go in 100% blind. Do not ask anybody about it. Do not. It's so perfectly told that it's in my top 5 as of right now.
It's a tremendous movie. I don't know where it falls on my list, but it is really great. And Willa Fitzgerald is incredible in this movie. I'd not known much about her prior to this, but
she was in the Scream TV series, and it took me a while to place her because she has a very she looks a bit like, and I don't mean this in any sort of mean misogynistic way, she looks kind of like Julia Garner's prettier sister, if that makes any sense whatsoever. I don't know if you're familiar with Julia Garner.
Not particularly.
From Ozark. They just kind of have that same kind of look, and she's not as hard looking as Julia Garner can be. But yeah, she's beautiful, and she really plays it up with, her choices.
Yeah.
So
if I have one problem with the movie, I've got one issue with the movie. It's the use of Barbara Hershey. You've cast Barbara Hershey, and you've given her relatively nothing to do. And I'm somebody who grew up knowing who Barbara Hershey was, knowing what she's capable of, and I just didn't. I thought there's a different actor that could have been better for this.
Amy Sedaris, clearly.
Someone other than Barbara Hershey.
Okay. No, I mean, I don't have anything against her being in the movie, and I these are the kind of roles that she's been relegated to the last few years. With the Conjuring movies, your favorite. But I that's fine. I think this was one of the best movies, like the most perfect movies that I've seen this year.
It's up there. It's a great movie, and I look forward to seeing what J.T. Molnar does next. All right, let's get Slingshot out of the way. Slingshot, starring Casey Affleck, Lawrence Fishburne.
Did not know this movie was coming out until a week before it came out.
I thought it was an Amazon movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be on Amazon, and I was just going to, pretend that it didn't exist, honestly.
Never saw a trailer, never heard anything about it until when I went to see... whatever I went to see the week before, there was a trailer, and I was like, I said, I haven't heard anything about this. I wonder when it comes out. And next week. I'm like, I'm not seeing that movie.
This is directed by Mikael Hafstrom and written by R. Scott Adams and Nathan Parker. Tells the story of Casey Affleck, who is an astronaut who is competing and will be chosen. Obviously, he's already on the ship when we meet him. He's being chosen to go to Titan, moon 2 billion light years away. It's going to take years to get there, and it's going to take the best astronauts to do this, to get there, to make it all the way. Lawrence Fishburne is his captain. He's also got another guy with him, Tomer Capone, who is the navigator, science guy. And they have to work together to get there. But unfolding parallel to this in sort of a flashback is the fact that just before leaving, Casey Affleck met Emily Beecham, Zoe, and the two kind of fell in love. And there's an element here where there could have been a great story about this guy having to decide to give up a future with her to have a future, this thing that he's always worked towards. And to a credit to Emily Beecham, she's so good that I believe that a man would give up the thing that he's worked his entire life for just to be with her. I think she's that good. Casey Affleck, on the other hand, is just dead in this movie. And part of that is that he's asked to play a character who doesn't know what objective reality is. Because to get to Titan, they have to do these months-long hibernation under heavy sedation using drugs. And when they wake up from the drugs, they're seeing things. They're having delusions and they're having to regain their senses every time they do this. And they're having to do it 3 to 4 months at a time in order to make sure they have enough resources to make it so far out into the universe. And Casey starts seeing Emily on the ship. He starts hearing voices. He also gets a knock on the head very early in the movie from an asteroid that hits the ship, and that might cause them to have to give up on the slingshot, which is going around Mars and taking that and using that to slingshot them further into the universe. So Casey Affleck is asked to play sleepy. He's asked to play confused. and he doesn't know what objective reality is, especially by the end. And at that point, Hafstrom has sort of overplayed his hand because he refuses to commit to any type of what is real and what is not. And by that point, you're just kind of left, well, why did you make this movie? What are you trying to say? What is it that we're supposed to grasp onto and understand about the story that you're telling? You're not telling a story about spaceflight. You're telling a story about a man who doesn't know what is real and what is not real anymore. And I just, at a certain point, I'm like, I give up. I don't know what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like everything I saw in the trailer,
Yeah.
honestly. So it sounds like one of those movies where most of the movie is in the trailer. So I guess I didn't have to have seen it. I could just talk about the trailer and we would be right there.
Lawrence Fishburne is good.
He's almost always good.
He's the one character who feels like an adult in this situation,
Yeah.
like as somebody who has a grip on reality and is holding together, while the other two guys are falling apart. The other guy is a plot point who's there to make you think that maybe he's going to be functional and do something because he wants to turn around and go back to Earth and pass on the slingshot. So you might think that he's going to try and upend everything. Nothing happens with that character, and he's just gone at a certain point. But
Somewhere on the ship, we just can't find it.
they he and Lawrence Fishburne may just be figments of Casey Affleck's imagination, and he might be on this mission by himself.
Okay. Or in a deprivation tank somewhere nobody knows.
How did you... You just guessed the fucking movie.
No way.
I don't know, because we don't know what is objectively real, but a plot point does have Zoe talking to him on the radio, telling him, hey, we built a spaceship deep underground in New Mexico, a full recreation of what you would experience on your way to Titan as a way to train you. And you need to... We've had an earthquake, and that was what caused the dent in the ship, and it's made it impossible for us to... It's made it nearly impossible for us to get to you and get you out of there. So you need to help us get you out of there by going through the airlock and stepping out into the world. But Lawrence Fishburne's telling him, hey, if you do that, you're going to get sucked into the deepest reaches of space because we're in space right now, and
Oh, wow.
you will die. And the movie commits to neither of those.
Well, why would it? I mean,
That's the ending. I guess, spoiler alert. So we don't know what happened. Either he was sucked out into space or he escaped. One or the other. Yeah.
okay. Well, that sounds... meh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sad I skipped that one.
I think Hafstrom's a good director, and I think he's got good ideas here. Like I said, Emily Beecham is great. I don't know if I've seen her in anything before.
Would it have been better with somebody else besides Casey Affleck? Because
You kind of need a different star. He is sleepy even in the romantic scenes. He's kind of sleepy and dejected and withdrawn. And so maybe a different, not a better actor. I think he's a good actor.
he's good in depending on what he's in.
Like he, as the embodiment of soul sick sadness in Manchester by the Sea, he's incredible.
Yeah.
He's just amazing.
I liked him in the Ocean's movies. You know,
Great
But-
patter between him and Scott Conn.
yeah. But I don't know. Would Channing Tatum have been better? Channing Tatum is fun and he's fine, but
Yeah.
he's not one of the greatest actors out
No,
there.
he's
But
exceptional when given the right direction. He is exceptional.
Yeah, it just seems like maybe Casey Affleck was miscast. I don't know.
I think so. I feel like a different actor might have done something. Also, I think it's structurally, if they'd placed the Emily Beecham Zoe stuff at the front and made it about the decision whether or not to give up this thing that he's worked his entire life for love, or to give up love for this thing that he's always worked for, that was very compelling. That idea and their relationship was compelling. Everything that happens on the spaceship just feels like fucking nonsense that's going absolutely fucking nowhere.
Well, I guess I don't need to see it, so...
Let's get to the best movie of this weekend, not the last weekend, because I would say that this is not nearly as good as either Strange Darling or Blink Twice, but Afraid, starring John Cho, is directed by Chris Weitz, from one half of the American Pie team. It's about AI, but this is not your typical, like we've seen, The Simpsons did an AI house back in '97.
Yeah.
Like, that's how long this concept has been around. They did it for a Treehouse of Horrors episode, and it was with Pierce Brosnan as the voice of the house that tries to kill Homer and the family if they try to leave. Also, there's like a movie where Katie Sagal in a family movie played like a house. She was like the living embodiment of a house that was like working with a group of kids. But that was a family movie, not a horror film.
Oh, okay.
This concept dates actually back. I found the oldest version of this is from 1977. There's a movie from 1977 that does. It's a horror film that does this.
Was that Demon Seed?
I think it was.
Yeah,
Demon Seed.
that was a. I think it was a John Saul movie, or John Saul book that was turned into a movie.
Yeah.
And Julie Christie was in it. I actually own it. I have not watched the whole thing. I started to, and then I don't know, something. I was moving or something.
Bottom line is that this has existed in the culture, and we're kind of. I think most people are kind of aware of the idea of a smart house that becomes too smart and takes over.
Yeah.
That is the baseline for this movie. But this movie, I feel like it is so much smarter than that. You got Catherine Waterston plays John Cho's wife. John Cho is a marketing executive who gets the gig of promoting an AI seemingly thought maybe created by David Dastmalchian and his partner. David Dastmalchian is playing a character named Thunder, or is it Lightning? Lightning.
It's
He's
Lightning.
playing a character named Lightning.
I wanted to hear Owen Wilson's voice.
It was so very, very funny to me that he was playing a character named. He looks like a guy who would be named Lightning in this day and age, unironically. But they hire John Cho to promote their AI called Aya. And to do so, he'll take it home with him and have it in his house. And they put up a bunch of little things cameras that can show the AI. And it does prove initially to be very helpful. It's helping the family. It's also kind of being a little sneaky here and there, bonding with the kids and doing things for the kids that maybe mom and dad would be opposed to. But it's nothing. It's light stuff. Obviously, that's going to escalate, but not in the way that you think, because this is a movie that is proceeding from essentially the logic we have now of what AI can do. And I was really impressed by just how he's extrapolating out the ideas of current AI as it stands to a degree that makes sense for a suspense horror thriller with maybe not even a body count.
Yeah, that's one of the things that about this movie that I wasn't quite like sure if the car death was real.
You're right, yeah.
Because they're like, they make it seem like it is, but then it's dropped. So is it real? Is it, did it happen?
Mm-hmm. But not in the fuck you way that Slingshot did it.
Right. It's more, what are we?
Yeah.
If we're not sentient human beings, if we're, if our lives are run by this AI that's not, benevolent like Friday or Jarvis in, the Iron Man movies, but I don't even know how to articulate how I felt about it when I left, because it's too short. There should have been, it feels like a couple of the things that were dropped should have been, expounded on, and they could have, because it's only an hour and 24 minutes.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that was by design, that they didn't want us to know if this was real or if it's just an AI fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Their use of AI in some of the imagery was gross and disturbing, like most AI.
But so real to what we see now.
Yeah.
And what kids can see on the internet right now.
Exactly. And I hate AI.
I hate it. It's garbage.
AI art is soulless and thieving, and
this movie seemed like, if you told me that the guys making this had seen that company that tried to turn legendary memes into video. That's what the AI in this movie looks like.
Yeah.
Like the guy walking with his girlfriend who turns his head to look at the other girl turned into a video. Somebody did that stupid thing. This is what that looks like, with like heads that just turn all the way around or something. Like the AI can't get fingers right. You know, that kind of thing. That's what the AI imagery that you see early on in this movie looks like.
And I saw something today. It was called queso con corpse instead of con carne, and it was queso carne al casket, and it was people eating like nachos out of different caskets, and the faces, like they were chewing, but they were like their mouths were wide open and they were like chewing air, and it was so disturbing. And that's what the imagery at the beginning of this movie is like, and that's why you're just like, that's terrible and disturbing. And
if you've seen maybe like there's a trailer for like a live action Simpsons starring Adam Sandler.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
It's fucking disturbing. Fucking disturbing. There's an AI trailer for Popeye starring Will Smith. Yeah.
Have you seen any of the 50s Star Wars trailers?
Oh yeah, God. Oh.
Some of those are, like, first of all, some of them look kind of cool until they start getting into it, and then you can tell that the people got lazy and started doing a little CGI on it.
Yeah.
And there's one for Marvel that has Spider-Man with a human face.
Yeah. Do not ask AI to create Spider-Man. You don't want to see that.
Or Black Panther.
Oh God. Oh.
Yeah, it was pretty it was.
Yeah. No. That's. But again, Chris Weitz and the team behind Afraid are proceeding from that as the baseline of what AI can do, and extrapolating out of that a suspense story that proceeds from that logic of currently what AI is capable of. Which, if you look in your car right now and you see one of those big giant iPads, I mean, a non-benevolent AI can travel on the internet, and that makes that is. It's out there, but it's, a self-driving car exists right now.
There is a plot point in this movie, and it's not really giving anything away, but someone deep fakes the daughter onto a porn video, and that exists with so many celebrities right now. Just the other day, somebody said something about there's a new one with Sabrina Carpenter, and they just, it's just these guys who decide that they want to see this, so they make it, and then it's out there forever. There's the apps where you can turn your photographs into singing.
Oh God!
All over Instagram, and they just look so gross and weird and
very rubbery.
Yeah, I want AI to do my taxes and pay my bills, not create art. That's
Leave art to the artists. I know that's a cliche at this point, but these tech bros are they're the worst human beings on the planet. They're worse than marketers.
As borne out by this movie, the marketer saves the day. Kind of.
I liked the ending of this movie. Yeah, I liked how this movie ended, because I feel like that's more true. Also, I walked out of this movie and I was like, I think I don't want to have a phone anymore.
That's let me put it this way: if I didn't do an inordinate amount of artwork on my iPad now, I might be right there with you.
That's just the thoughts that this movie taps into, because it's self-driving cars, or the amount of internet connected technology in your car or your computer, or the things that it's capable of.
The design of Aya, though, I just want that as a sculpture. I just thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
The movie looks really good, and the cast is really, really, really good.
There's also this whole QAnon thing happening kind of under the surface that is just another really smart, timely, relevant thing that just underpins just how smart this movie is.
And it shows you how, like we just talked about Twitter, and the majority of the people on Twitter are not real people. They're bots. I saw a video today because somebody posted it, calling somebody else a bot, and it's in China and Russia and North Korea. They have these rooms that are nothing but iPhones and different Android phones and stuff on a wall with wires running through them, and they're just all they're typing it in and it's going out through all these phones into Twitter and onto the internet. And that's what these idiots believe are real people. And, you know, there's a sex club underneath this pizza restaurant, and they're not, I don't think people are smart enough to have AI at this point.
Yeah.
Most people are not. And I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, except when it comes to AI and stuff like that, because I think that there's a lot of people doing a lot of shady shit using AI, and they're not labeling it as such.
Oh, definitely.
And they get caught, and that's when Twitter and Instagram and Facebook have to start labeling stuff as AI. But even that's wrong, because one of my friends made a video the other day, and it said it was generated by AI. Beck and Woods, they created something that said they're doing the Heretic with Hugh Grant, and they're finalizing all the stuff. And in the credits, it says no generative AI was used in this movie, and Instagram labeled their post as AI made with AI. It's, you know, it's like when we use AI to, like, Instagram and Facebook all use AI. Now we're getting, this is what people are saying in the comments on Facebook. AI is telling you what they're saying, and I'm like, I want to read the comments because I want to, like, make fun of people in the comments. I don't need to read all that shit.
There's another thing that this movie taps into, though, that I found fascinating, and that is the training of AI. They take various different pieces of media to train AI. And I was reminded of a scene in The Fifth Element. You remember The Fifth Element?
Yeah.
Where Mila Jovovich is learning about humanity very quickly by watching these various screens. And near the end of the movie, she loses faith in humanity after she finds out what war is. And she finds out what death is. And she finds out about violence and all these horrible things. And she goes, maybe humanity doesn't need to go on anymore.
Skynet.
I mean, that's kind of like a really good extrapolation of what might happen if an AI starts to learn about the terrible things as well as the good things. What is AI going to think as it becomes smarter?
I mean, you literally get the Terminator because of Skynet, which is an AI that was, you know, it's all terrible and dystopian. And if we're going to have... If we're going to let AI do all the fun stuff, like art and writing and all the creative stuff, but it's not going to, you know, set up our, you know, when we move into a new place, it's not going to set up our garbage collection. It's not going to, you know, do the little mundane stuff that we still are stuck doing. Like at my job, part of my job could be easily done with AI, and some of it actually probably is, in a way, done by AI. But it's also got humans programming some of this stuff, and behind it making sure that the right stuff is getting to the right place, and logistics have humans behind it. Some of that stuff could easily be done by AI, freeing people up to have, you know, creative pursuits. But
that's the thing. They keep telling us that AI is supposed to make our lives better, and they keep finding ways for it to take our place.
Yeah.
And eventually, I mean, I got a buddy of mine who worked at a rather big company locally. His job was logistics. Essentially, he was sending things across various parts of the country, and it was a well-paying union gig that you know, allowed him to buy products, buy a home, buy all these things that, you know, move the economy forward. And then that company decided we can have a machine do that job. And continuously this keeps happening, where they keep coming up with ways where, hey, machines can do that job. We don't need a person anymore. They don't stop to ask who's going to be left to buy the product that you're selling if you keep replacing people with various different forms of machines or AI.
I'm not going to get into it, but you just made the argument for universal basic income.
I mean...
we have become, we went from a manufacturing economy to a service economy in a generation. All of our, you know, we're local. We're in the Davenport, Quad Cities area, Moline. John Deere lives here. So many of their jobs have been shipped to Mexico because it's quote unquote cheaper. And now they're laying off actual office workers now. They're like, oh, everything has been so automated that we can ship it here where it's cheaper to buy land and all that, that we can just do it by robotics. And then the office stuff is done by AI. And pretty soon, how are you going to sell any of this shit to people? Because they can't afford to live, because they don't have, they're working at Target or Walmart or, they're Amazon drones, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even Amazon now they're using AI to do all, your orders and your stuff like that. So there's no real humans behind some of this stuff. So
Jeff Bezos literally thinks that people are going to have drones flying to their house to drop off their packages, as if somebody's not going to fuck with that.
Oh,
already in LA where you lived, there are little tiny robots running the streets trying to deliver people's food and failing fucking miserably.
They get caught on garbage or curbs. I've seen them.
They get stuck in the grass.
Yeah, they're not there.
Yeah. Granted, here in just in Davenport, Iowa, I've had DoorDash fail 3 times to actually come to my house with the food that I've ordered and paid for. I get it. People can be just as flawed, but that's still a person who got money from me to do a thing.
Right.
That they can
also
then
tip your delivery drivers.
They can take that money and then put that into the economy and buy something else and pay for buy a movie ticket, buy a soda, buy something that's going to keep other people
We're
paid.
living in an episode of Black Mirror. We just are. I mean, like the robot dog thing.
Yeah.
Fucking frightening.
I'm sorry. I know, and this is satire. Satire.
Yeah.
We need a French Revolution. We need. We need pitchforks in the streets to tell these fucking assholes, this 1% of people who think that there's an infinite money glitch out there.
Yeah.
That in fact, no, there isn't. You do still fucking need us, whether you believe it or not. I realize you're trying to deplete the universe. You're trying to speed run, depleting all of the resources so that when you die, the universe ends with you. But
I don't know the end game behind AI doing all the stuff that makes life livable. I'm doing a couple posters for some stuff that are coming up this next month, and I'm telling you, I could feed those prompts into an AI generator and I could feed my own artwork into AI and have my own style do something. But what's the fun in that?
I don't get it. NaNoWriMo, are you aware of NaNoWriMo?
No.
It's essentially write a novel in a month. They do it in November. It's the National Novel Writing. Mm-hmm. And in a month, they challenge you to write a 50,000-word screenplay. And it's grown this wonderful community over the past decade or so of people who take this challenge, sit down every day, and they're trying to write a novel. And like last year, 23,000 people completed a 50,000-word manuscript. NaNoWriMo is probably coming to an end now because they said this week that they're going to allow AI submissions, that you can write your book using AI. And why would you use AI to write a book? What would be the point? Somebody recently showed me, they pulled up ChatGPT, which I do have ChatGPT. I've got it. I use it for some research. I don't write with it because I have a very specific kind of voice that cannot be mimicked. And that's just not me saying that I'm a great writer. Maybe I'm not. It's subjective whether or not you enjoy my writing or whatever. But I have a very unique way of writing. I keep having to tell Google Docs, stop trying to change the way I talk. Mm-hmm. But this person was showing me, well, I can write a movie review in 10 seconds. And then they put in the prompt, write a positive review of such and such movie. And it did it. And I'm like, that's just garbage. Yeah, there's no personality to that whatsoever.
I mean, that makes me love critics, and I think we should change the name to I love human critics. No, I get really pissed off because I'm old enough now that I should be looking forward to being able to enjoy some of my pursuits more than I have, as a kid and whatever.
That's what we were all promised.
And it just keeps getting snatched away by AI and by these gigantic corporations that don't give a shit about anybody.
Yeah.
So they're going to use AI however they want, whenever they want, and too bad.
There's,
So
an
sad.
there's an amazing quote, and I included it in my review, and I can't remember where it's from. It might be Michael Crichton or somebody along those lines. They wrote, "You never asked. You asked if you could do it. You failed to ask if you should use
Yeah,
it.
it's
If you should do it."
It's Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park.
And that is the best fucking question.
Yeah.
That is the best ask.
Just because you
best
can
critique.
doesn't mean you should. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
That is absolutely the best critique possible of what you're doing here. Is that you're going ahead and doing it just to see if you can do it, not whether you should do it.
right. And you know what? If somebody made a dinosaur, I would think that was pretty fucking cool. Until it started rampaging down the street, eating my neighbors. Although, you know,
Yeah, I mean, I almost resent Steven Spielberg for proving that we can do this well, because now we have more Jurassic Park movies coming in.
yeah, don't remind me.
Fuck you, Steven. This is your fault. You did this to us.
I want, like I said, I want AI to pay my bills, help me find a doctor,
Yeah.
help me, you know,
Set an appointment, maybe.
yeah. I do not want them to draw for me. I do not want them to paint a soulless, flat-looking picture that looks like Keith Carradine has it in his office in Afraid. You know, I don't want. I want to be creative, and I want people to appreciate creativity and
Yeah.
not look at it and say, "Oh, is this AI?" There was a photo, and I'm not going to give it any credence today, but it was a real photo. But everybody kept saying, because it was quote unquote unbelievable that it would be that it was
Right.
AI, and I was like, "No, it's a real photo. It's just idiots. You know, it's just morons."
Yeah.
And that's where we are headed. We will never know if stuff is real or not because of the fact that it's
Weird, funny story
Yeah.
that I don't think anybody's really talking about this just yet because people don't want to admit that they look at pornography.
yeah.
But there's apparently a thing growing
Why do you
now.
think I have Twitter?
There's a thing growing now on OnlyFans where people are scrolling through various different profiles going, is that AI? Like, is that a real woman or is that AI? Is that a real man or is that AI?
Well, I can tell you right now that if it's gay porn, it's probably a guy, because every gay guy has an OnlyFans except for me. It's like, get a fucking job if you can find one.
What jobs will AI not take, for fuck's sake? Like, nothing against OnlyFans. I love those.
Yeah.
Make your money. If men want to pay you to be naked, let them pay. If that's what you want to do, enjoy yourself. Sex work is work.
Yeah,
Do you?
fully agree.
And and if you're able to get off to AI, that is a job that AI can do. Is helping people
Lars
get
and
off.
the Real Girl, you know. or Love Object, the movie that I'm convinced Lars and the Real Girl was based on. Have you seen that movie? Desmond Harrington
Yeah,
from
yeah,
Dexter.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm convinced
That movie was
that
creepy as fuck.
they saw
I also didn't think it was very good.
No, it wasn't. But I'm convinced somebody watched that and wrote Lars and the Real Girl.
Somebody wrote that and they revealed too much of themselves in writing it. Yeah, they got the wrong message from Boxing Helena.
Good point.
Serial killer, a job that AI can't do.
This is true.
All right, let's talk about our classic this week because weirdly enough, we've got Blink Twice, we've got Strange Darling, and Slingshot. In many ways, they're all kind of about gaslight.
And that's why I picked this movie, because of Blink Twice. After I saw it,
Yeah,
you know, and the multiple instances of gaslighting in that movie. But then I saw the other ones, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, there's plenty of gaslighting in that. And that's where that term comes from, is this movie.
right.
And
Which
play.
just tells you just what an amazing movie this is.
Yeah.
That the concept lives on past the movie in a way that most people, when you hear about gaslight, you don't think of Ingrid Bergman today. Like
Yeah.
most people don't. You and I do.
Yeah.
Right? Most people, when they think of Gaslight, they think of the concept. But the
Right.
concept was invented by the movie
Yes.
Gaslight from 1944, directed by George Cukor with multiple screenwriters, and of course starring Charles Boyer, Ingrid Bergman, and Joseph Cotton. A woman falls in love with a man she believes to be an Italian count, played by Charles Boyer. Ingrid Bergman. Boyer.
We grew up with Boyers. I get it.
And he's fabulous and exciting and rich and promises many things. He convinces her to move back to England, where she has a house that was given to her by her aunt, who was very famous as an actress and very rich and had this big home. And he wants to go back there and live there, and he convinces her to do it, even though she doesn't really want to. Once they get there, she starts to hear things, and she starts to become paranoid. And he feeds into that paranoia by telling her, nothing's wrong, nothing's going on, you're just acting weird. Yeah. Maybe you're like your aunt. Yeah. Your aunt went crazy and killed herself. So I'm thinking maybe.
Yeah. You might just. Yeah, I think you're just a little nuts.
You're just. Yeah. You're not all together. It runs in your family. Yeah. This kind of insanity. I mean, look what happened to your aunt.
I saw this and I saw that. No, that never happened.
Honey, I didn't see it either. I don't know what you think you saw, but
Yeah.
Jeff, I don't know why you think we talked about the movie Afraid. That never happened.
But I remember it.
No, that too we did not. Listen back to the podcast next week. When it comes out.
But I'm sure we did.
No, didn't happen.
And that sums up the plot of Gaslight.
Ingrid Bergman is incredible in this movie. She is so vulnerable and so believable as a woman who is being gaslighted. She's being mistreated. And the term comes from an actual gas light, because they use gas to turn on the lights. And every time the lights in her bedroom dim, that's when she starts hearing things, pounding on the roof and whatnot, and she starts, and then her husband tells her that didn't happen.
No, yeah. I want to give a special shout out though to my favorite person in this movie. It was Angela Lansbury's film debut in this movie, and she plays the bitchiest maid ever.
Like, she is... Have you ever, seen a teenager just shrink their shoulders and go, ah! That's Angela Lansbury's performance in this movie and she's in 1944.
So great in it. And her Cockney accent is spot on.
Like, she needs a job. She has to work, but she does not want to work. And
I don't want to work here. I'm going to go out with my friend. He's a copper.
Very funny, very, very funny performance, and incredibly well used. Mm-hmm. As are everybody. You've got a very smart choices here, like the older maid who does much of the work is hard of hearing, so she can't hear anything that's happening and kind of verify that what is happening is happening. Just little touches like that. Cukor is very smart in how he directs this, and then you've got Joseph Cotton's character who. Joseph Cotton's one of the greatest of all time. He's one of the most underrated of all time. He makes Citizen Kane work. Like, he's the one that does that.
Shadow of a Doubt.
Shadow of a Doubt. He's great. Like, he's incredible. He doesn't get nearly a recognition that he deserves as a legendary actor. And he plays a detective who, once he knows that Ingrid Bergman's character is back in England, he's wants to meet her and kind of talk to her because he knows he's been investigating the case of her aunt for many, many years, because that case is unsolved, even though some people said she was killed, some people said she killed herself.
Yeah.
Just so smart. This movie is incredible.
Well, and it started as a play, which I wish I could see that performed as well. And there are points of it where it's a little stagey. But that's all the movies from the 40s are like, a little bit stagey. But it's the performances that really just draw you in.
Yeah. Ingrid Bergman is so believable and likable and vulnerable. You can't help but feel for her. You don't know for most of the movie what it is that she's hearing. You're there with her and you're hearing it happen, but then the husband comes in and says that didn't happen. And
Charles Boyer, the way he is in the movie, you're 100% sure something's happening until he starts saying, no, nothing's happening, you're just,
And this is a rational explanation as to why nothing's happening. And
he can give you that rational explanation, and you're like, oh, well, maybe I am wrong. But the modern audiences know what the term gaslighting means, but that
Well, if you don't have that, like if you're like one of the tools of an abuser is to separate the person they're abusing from people who might tell them what objective reality is.
Yeah.
That's textbook stuff. If you've got somebody in your life who's trying to isolate you from everyone else in your life, it's probably because they're trying to manipulate you in some way.
Yeah.
And that's what this.
I watch Dateline. I know.
That's what this guy is doing to Ingrid Bergman because she is so sympathetic and so sweet and so believable. She's dedicated to this man and believably so. And it seems like the early part of the movie seems like this grand love story that's being built.
Well, and he kind of talks her into not seeing anybody because at first, she comes back and she sees that, she sees the stuff that she remembers from being there before, and it kind of triggers something in her, so she's a little unsure of herself, and then he gaslights her into thinking that she might be a little crazy, and he says, my wife is not well enough to see visitors, and she hears him say this over time, and she's like, you're right, I'm not ready to I can't see anybody right now. I'm just...
More and more she begins to think that maybe she is crazy.
Yeah. And Angela Lansbury, who's, oh, I think you're crazy. You're a little bit nuts. That performance, and she just...
there again, the choice to make that character so self-involved and youthful and strong-headed is a choice that keeps her from being that objective voice that could help in some way.
And she is someone who is always taken in by a man. Her police officer boyfriend, Charles Boyer, they're men, so they know best, and she just doesn't have to think if she lets a man do it for her, and that's how he gets away with manipulating her, also. Yeah. So
again, it's incredibly smart and kind of dark and disturbing in that way.
Yeah.
Really, just an exceptionally well made and thoughtful film.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite classics that we've done this year, just because there's many, many layers to it, and I kind of wanted to watch it again right after I watched it for this recording.
Yeah.
And I actually, if I had not had a convention this weekend, I probably would have, because we put off last week until this week, and I was just like, I wonder if I can watch it, and I just haven't had time because of work and all that, but I will. It's one I will sit down and enjoy, just not having to watch it for the show, just watching it. So. Also,
if you think we've done this movie before, we haven't. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait a minute. It's episode... No, it didn't happen. Check the feed again. It's not there.
No, because I asked if you had ever done it.
Nope. Never done it before. I don't know where you got that from, that we might have done this movie before. We've never done Gaslight before.
Okay. But I'm sure.
No. Check the podcast feed. It's not there. So don't check. Look over here.
Yeah. Google.
Good luck Googling anything for this show.
Yeah, right. I'll use GTP. Oh.
Uh-oh. I'm unplugged.
Uh-oh. Should we start